Hello, beautiful humans, and welcome to Growing Through It, a podcast dedicated to bringing you clarity so that you can harness your curiosity and be the creator of your life. Hosted by me, Shanae Rowe. Hello, my loves, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the podcast. I hope you've had a good weekend and the sun is shining wherever you are. We're up to double digits. We're up to episode 10, which is really exciting. I'm sort of surprised at myself for being consistent at something for this long, and it might not seem like a long time for some people, but for me, it kind of is. So it's pretty exciting. So let's dive into the episode. It is called Intuitive Movement as a Practice that Heals and Nurtures Connection to Ourselves. And I really want to talk about movement and dance because I started intuitively moving and dancing a few years ago, and I have found that it has helped me in various ways, like so many ways that I didn't think about when I started doing it. And I think it all started, I was following this woman on Instagram, Ellie Ransfield, and she moved in such a graceful and intuitive way. And I was so mesmerized by her ability to do that, that I thought like, wow, I want to start moving my body in ways like that. And I want to start like expressing myself and dancing a bit more. And then I also saw the beautiful Freya Haley on Instagram. I started following her, and she was similar. She had a different style of intuitive dance, but she did it so beautiful, and she does it so beautifully. And sort of following these women and seeing how they express themselves through movement really ignited something within me, and that's sort of where it started. So I would make it a practice to move daily, to dance a little bit, and yeah, I found that it really healed parts of myself, parts of who I was, and it allowed me to foster this really deep connection between my mind and my body. And I think at the core of that, like the reason is because dancing in itself is a form of self-expression, right? It's so unique for every single person. If you think about when you go out, if you go clubbing or you go to events, live music, people are always dancing, and no two people look the same when they move, because it is such a vulnerable thing to do, to share yourself and the way that your body moves with the world. It's so unique to you as an individual because it is natural. It is like moving is how we sort of release energy, and it's how we like moving is how we express our most authentic selves to the outside world. I like to think of intuitive dance and movement as like everything that's going on in our minds, we are releasing out into the physical world. And like the specific ways that we move our arms and we move like our torsos and our feet and things is a direct representation of how we feel internally and who we are as people internally. Dancing is just a very basic core human experience and behavior. And it allows us to connect with other people. It allows us to build a community. I like to think of back in tribal times, like something that tribal people always do is dance with each other, right? Sing and dance. It is a necessity for human life to build connection and to build community and trust and love. I also like to think of dance, especially intuitive dance, as an expression of love. It's the love that we have within us. We're able to give that to other people through movement. And as well as that, look at kids. Kids are always playing and dancing, and they're not caring about what they look like. And I think somewhere along the way, we sort of lose touch with this core experience that is dancing and movement. We lose touch of that, and we sort of forget how healing it can be to move our bodies, and how nurturing it can be for ourselves, and it's a way to understand who we are, to express ourselves through movement. And you see kids do it all the time, right? And they have not a care in the world. And I love looking at young people do that and admiring them and sort of taking that on board with me to be like, okay, I'm going to strive to be more like a child in the way that I move, all right? Carefree and just moving however I feel the need to in the moment, right? Because acting on that, we are expressing ourselves and we're having fun and we're inviting play, and we are like, it allows us to get to know ourselves a little bit better without judgment. A massive reason why I love intuitive dance so much and why I think it can be a really healing practice is because it allows us to transmute negative energy and release emotional blocks that we're feeling in our bodies, right? So, like when we're experiencing negative emotions like anger or frustration, it's just, if we don't do anything with that, it can become really stagnant within our bodies and we can feel really icky, right? And I find what helps is moving. We can release all of that energy when we move in ways that we need to. And it doesn't have to be pretty. Like intuitive movement and intuitive dance is all about moving in whichever way feels right for us in the moment. And the whole idea of it needing to look pretty is just um, this resistance that we place on ourselves to not express our emotions, right? And to not release all of that stuck energy into something that's healing for us. So, yeah, like when I am experiencing like anger or frustration or just sadness, I will get up and move. And it looks different every time. Like, and depending on what emotion I'm feeling, I dance in a different way. It's just sort of when you can connect your emotions and your body in that way, to you start to notice the ways that feel good to you. You start to notice sort of the movements that help to release all of that icky emotion. So, yeah, really wonderful example of a way to release like stuck negative energy through dance and through intuitive movement. Um, Freya Haley actually taught to us when we were on this beautiful retreat with her, and it was all about, you know, use something in the physical world to help you dance. And one of hers was swords. And like, yeah, she dances so beautifully. If you haven't heard of her, I'll link her Instagram profile and like even her YouTube in the show notes of this episode because I think it's so beautiful. But yeah, her swords, and she uses it as a way to like cut through emotion. So there are so many ways that you can incorporate like physical things into the way that you move as a way to sort of release emotional blocks and to move through uncomfortable emotions. Um, I really like when I'm really sort of like angry and frustrated with myself. I like short and sharp movements with my arms. Um, Sort of like, I don't even know how to describe it. You're just sort of like a slicing motion. I guess maybe like swords, but the more that you dance, the more that you find little movements that resonate with a certain emotion that you feel. And I think it's so powerful when you begin to notice that, because then you are able to sort of release negative energy and you're able to transform it into something beautiful by moving your body. And, I think dance is an art form. It's self expression, but it's also just a really powerful tool to release repressed emotions that are stored in our body, right? To overcome blocks within ourselves, in our physical bodies, because of an emotion that we have stored somewhere that's waiting to be let go of and to be moved through. And I think, yeah, intuitive dance is a tool that we can use to harness that regulation of our emotions. If you think about when you're having a hard day, or, you're struggling a little bit, people tell you to move your body, right? And a lot of the time, people say that in terms of going for a walk or going to the gym or hiking, getting out in nature, whatnot, which is amazing. But I have found that dancing, moving your body intuitively to dance, right, in whatever way feels right for you, also has a profound effect on our mental health and getting us back to that baseline um, of like contentment and not having our thoughts race around. Another way that I find intuitive dance to be really healing is for our minds. And I found that especially with me, um, when we release the expectations that we place on our body and on ourselves and how we expect ourselves to move and act and be, then we heal parts of ourselves. We heal the judgment part of ourselves that tells us that we're not good enough or we don't look good. And I think that as well, it comes back to like being a kid again and how they're so carefree and they don't care what they look like because they haven't been taught that they should judge themselves for the way that they're acting and moving. So I've found that dancing to the beat of my own drum, it really does allow me to sink into my mind and really question the negative beliefs that I think while I'm dancing, right? In that initial phase of like you're starting to move your body when you dance and you're racing, your head is just racing with all of these thoughts and ideas of, oh my God, this person's clearly judging me, or I look stupid, or I feel stupid. And I think intuitive dance is so powerful because we have the opportunity to observe those thoughts and to ask ourselves if that is the truth, if we want it to be the truth, and if we are willing to change it, to transform that thought into something that is better for us, to heal those broken parts of ourselves that judge who we are and how we look, and turn it into a kind of more compassionate voice that's talking to us. I find especially for me when I dance in public, right? You have all of this head noise going on and it's crazy. And you have the opportunity to challenge your thoughts, right? Do you give in to your judgment or do you push through? And I found that to be especially powerful dancing or moving or playing in public by myself or even with others, but especially dancing in public, doing sort of creative flow art in public. There is this onslaught of self doubt and self judgment with how I appear to the external world. And the power lies within myself to change that, to change those thoughts from judgment and sort of like negative, almost not hatred, but yeah, just this really judgy, pessimistic view. And I have the power to change that into something that's more nurturing. And I think we all have that opportunity. And dance really allows us to harness that, to really notice our inner mind and what's going on and challenge ourselves to change it and really give ourselves the love and the laughter that we would if we were to see a kid doing the same thing. We're just little kids in big human bodies, right? I also find that intuitive dance, it's a form of meditation, and I think this stems from what I was just talking about with the mind. But a lot of us think of meditation only as like sitting down with our legs crossed in a really nice posture, eyes closed, and you're going into your mind thinking about, maybe you're flowing down a stream and you're really trying to quieten your thoughts to get to this place of stillness and calm and quiet within your mind. And yes, that is probably the most common form of meditation, but there are so many other ways that we can meditate, that we can quiet our mind, like sitting down and eating breakfast without our phones is a form of meditation, like paying attention to the tastes and the textures and the sensations of food as we eat it is a form of meditation, right? Anything that involves us truly being in the here and now, observing our thoughts and our feelings in this very moment and paying attention to them and not attaching onto those thoughts or sensations is meditation. And so I think intuitive dance is that at its very core. It allows us to connect us to ourselves by slowing down our minds and listening to our bodies without attachment, right? And the deeper that you go into intuitive dance, right, once you pass that judgment phase and questioning, if you look silly or if you're doing it right or whatever, once you get through that in the first stage of dancing, in the first stage of moving, you begin to just quiet the mind and you pay attention to how you feel, how it feels to move your leg in a particular way, or how it feels to move your arms about above your head and sort of flow around, how it feels, to get closer to the ground. You start noticing these things within your body because your mind isn't racing with thoughts, and all of this clutter that's going on, that's distracting you from how you actually feel internally. And I think once we get to that phase of intuitive dance, of movement, then it allows us to ask ourselves these really beautiful questions of, what do we need right now in order to nurture ourselves? What way do I need to move in order to release this really stagnant, sort of sad energy that I'm feeling? And you follow through with that. You do that and you move, and all of a sudden it's this big release of, the sadness that you're feeling that was stuck in your body, right? And I find as well, like when we dance and when we express ourselves in a way that feels right for us in the very moment we're doing it, then we sort of can see what our desires are, what we're struggling with, what we need to work through, the energy that we need to surround ourselves with. I find when we quieten the mind and just move the body, thoughts and feelings and ideas come to us, right? Because we're not attaching onto how we look or, why we're dancing in the first place. It's just a state of flow, of a calm inner world within our minds, and epiphanies come to us, right? I find when I dance and I'm enjoying it, and I'm just not thinking about anything other than just flowing and moving, then, all these epiphanies and thoughts and ideas pop into my mind, and I get to sort of tell a story with my body about, what I'm going to do with that information. And that is really powerful because it allows us to recognize that dancing has the power to help us sink into the here and now, to be, to exist, to release, and come home to ourselves, right? To come home to what we need in this very moment of who we are. I think that's why I find dancing so powerful. And I really invite you guys to, if you don't dance already, I really invite you to start doing it. And it's funny because when you first start, you feel so silly and it feels unnatural. And I still don't know the reason why it does, because it's such an innate part of being human, right? To move our bodies. But for some reason, when you first get into dancing intuitively, to moving your body, um, however you actually feel, it comes across as uncomfortable and just, yeah, really unpleasant and unnatural. And maybe that's because we're so out of touch with our minds and our bodies. We've sort of closed off the connection between mind, heart, and spirit. That dancing, doing this practice, that is a core part of being human, it feels silly because we're just really disconnected from ourselves and our bodies. But yeah, I invite you to try, to give it a go. See what feels good for you, right? What is your style of dance? Play around with like tools and things to dance with, right? Imagine that you've got a big like aura in your hands, hold it at your chest, right? Play around with it, play around with the shape, stretch it out, stretch your arms out with this really beautiful golden light. See how you can morph it and change its shape. Let it engulf you, right? Become one with it. There are so many ways that you can play around with dance as a way to express yourself and a way to get to know yourself a little bit more. If you're in a good mood, dance. What movements are you doing? Like, pay attention to how you move when you're happy and sort of the actions that you take to release all that happiness. Do you jump about a lot? Do you like sway your arms up and down and go crazy, right? Do you spin? Do you twirl? Pay attention to how you dance when you're sad. What does it feel like? Is it slower movement? Is it um are you more like reserved in your body? Are you hunched over when you're sad and you're trying to release all of that energy? You're trying to bring it all to the surface. Are you like pulling? Are you trying to pull things out of you when you dance? Right? There's there's just so many ways that you can do it, and nothing is right or wrong. It's all intuitive. It's all about how you feel in the moment and just moving your body in accordance to your emotions and your feelings and your sensations. Just get to know yourself. I really invite you all just to try and get to know yourself a little bit more through moving your body. Moving your body when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're angry, when you're frustrated, when you're overjoyed, when you're crying. Move your body. Release the energy, right? Tap into your mind, right? And the thoughts that you have when you are moving. Right? What are you thinking? Pay attention to what you're thinking about when you are feeling emotions. Pay attention to the ways that you resist movement and the ways that you talk to yourself when you are dancing by yourself or when you're dancing in public or around people or when you're at a party. Just observe your thoughts and observe your emotions and try to sink a little bit deeper into the present moment and into your body so that you can express all of that and that you can sync up your thoughts and your mind with your body and your emotions. I think it's so powerful. And the more that we do intuitive dance, the more that we get comfortable doing it and being ourselves and expressing ourselves around people, right? Because dancing is such a core part of being human, and it's such a core practice that allows us to connect with people, that when we feel safe enough to be ourselves and to be silly or sad and move our bodies in accordance around people, we are showing them our true selves and we are inviting them to get to know us in all of our pain and beauty. And that is how we build community and connection. And that's how we spread love and give love and receive love. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on intuitive movement and dancing as a way to sort of heal ourselves, heal parts of ourselves, and to get to know ourselves better. I actually have a little piece of writing that I wanted to share with you guys that is related to dance. And this is from February of this year. So what I like to do sometimes when I dance or meditate or whatever, I have these epiphanies and I like to write them down in my notes app or in my journal or something. And when I was coming up with ideas for this episode, I went into my notes app and I found this little musing that I'd made from February of this year. And I just thought that it really hit the nail on the head with how I feel about intuitive dance as a way to express ourselves and heal ourselves and nurture ourselves. So, um, listen along. Dance is a way to defy the cages our minds have placed over our bodies. It takes a while to sink into myself when I dance, but it is liberating when I reach that place of divine feeling, expression of self through movement, a form of meditation using my body, not thinking, allowing thoughts to pass. I look weird, I feel weird, I can't dance, I'm not flexible, my balance sucks. These are all limits I place on myself as a way to keep my boldness contained. Slow movement is where I explore my beliefs, my body, my thoughts, focusing on sensation rather than appearance. Letting my limbs move as they please, my head leads to where she wants to go. I surrender. True harmony between mind and body, working in unison. I am one. Removing the pressure I put on myself to be perfect, to move perfectly, and rather just flowing. Wanting to quit, to stop moving because of discomfort, not in my body, but in my mind. The divine pours through me and I get to write it all down. The portal between the realms of spiritual and physical are open. So yeah, that's just my little musing it just sort of came to me when I was moving and dancing one day. And that honestly is what I think dance can do to us. Intuitive dance allows us to have this introspection on our thoughts and our feelings and just to observe sort of how we feel, allow that to pass and draw these sort of conclusions between how we feel and how we think and sort of what causes it. And yeah, we have this great introspection when we do tap into the here and now, and when we allow ourselves to move our bodies, to express ourselves in that really authentic and vulnerable way that is dance. But yeah, I hope you've really enjoyed this episode. I've really liked talking about it. Yeah, I hope you've learned something and can share it along with some people who you think will benefit from it. Um, as always, thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. Share this episode with people, pop it on your stories, let me know what you think of it. Um, but yeah, that's all from me. So get on out there and enjoy your big, beautiful life. Bye!